Okay, Rahubat. Man, this is a great day and time. I really hope you all can hear me and see me now. I hope I'm clear. Let me check. Let me just check the camera. All right. My apologies. I'm using the new HDMI so I can get better quality and better sound, right? So I appreciate it. Let me know if you can hear me well. We're going to get right into this. Just put a thumbs up. We're going to get right into this. This is a very special podcast today, a very special episode because it's part two of what we had discussed in the last one. I hope you all caught. Yeah, can you see me and hear me well? To all my people, family, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all so much. The support, the love. How is it? How's the sound? I hope the sound is good. I hope the view is good. How's the camera? Sounds good. Okay. And the screen is not small. We had a problem with the last screen. It was quite small. And so I had to redo it and edit it. But fortunately, we're good to go now. Picture is perfect this time. Great. Thank you. Appreciate you, young Theo. Thanks for tuning in. Please share the channel as well. I appreciate all the supporters and everyone that has been sharing. The subscription rate and people that are liking is phenomenal. We're at a very fast pace and growing our channel, the Actual Facts Podcast. Of course, we want to give thanks as always to the one and only His Excellency Dr. Malachi Z. York, our Heavenly Father in flesh, who has incarnated again to teach the 144,000 lost souls, the tribe and the nation that exists within the Western Hemisphere, who has been lost for 6,000 years under the spell of foreign rule, as well as lost in the what you call the wilderness of North America. And we're going to do a part. This is a part two, episode 7, part 2 of identity crisis. Now we know exactly who we are. We hope that you all had enjoyed the last episode 6. There was really a lot of great feedback from that, a lot of information that was given as it relates to the blacks of the indigenous that have migrated to the West and seeded various parts of the planet coming out of Afafre Kau, Africa. We also touched on the nations, America's first people who migrated over the Bering Strait from Siberia, and the seed and the haplogroups of those particular people who seeded the North American, South America, and the difference between them and the indigenous, the Africans who are the Olmecs, the Malians, Ghanaians who came and sailed over here through the tides. We went through the Let's Set the Record Straight by our president and chief, Dr. Malachi Z. York Panabab Yanun. He wrote a book, Let's Set the Record Straight, that addressed these particular migrations and the various tribes that, and the proof of the tribes that, and the archaeological findings of the southern South America, North America, Mexico. And we did quite a bit of study on that. So what we plan on doing, right, in this one, we want to follow up with the nation identified. And the reason this is important is because all of our episodes are important. We just want to say that. But this particular one, we're going to divulge a lot of information that people have not been privy to, because there's certain societies and people, individuals that are groups and orders that are in the higher ups that has kept this information from our people for a long time. And it was kept hidden in various institutions. It was kept hidden in various, let's say, buildings, learning institutions, universities, schools, particularly UGA, the National Archives in Washington, D.C. We're going to go through documents that has been found and recovered from the George Washington Masonic Museum that is found in Alexandria, Virginia. There's other archives such as in universities such as Duke University, Durham University in North Carolina. Also, particularly we focused on UGA. The reason why we're going to focus on UGA is because the University of Georgia was a part of the complicit fraud that the United States and the Georgia government partook of to hide your nation's land. And the reason why that you have to know that is because you have to know what land belongs to you in order to identify yourself as a true nation. You have to know your government structure. You have to know your laws. You have to know your legal representation on the international community. And you also have to know how the U.S. tricked Africans of the diaspora, as who were once in bondage and acknowledged as merchandise and property, and how they kept in a particular form of theirs, in a particular order of theirs, to control you and keep you subjected to their rule, as colonialists do in the colonization of the world that they partook of in Africa and other countries. And now you have to learn and know the colonization or the colonialism that took place in the Americas and North America. And so this is a freedom episode. This is a freedom lecture and a freedom class. And we have to hash and continue to be redundant with this information, because this is what the Father came to give us, our freedom and liberty. Not only with the actual facts and the Patarak and the massive amount of information that he's given to the world, that frees your mind mentally. As you can see, he's written over 1,500 books. For those that have been in contact with me, to receive the publications is a great thing, because you'll see the type of knowledge that the Father has given the planet, given you as a race. And that information is liberating. Not only is it liberating to your mind, it also has to be liberating to your body and liberating to us as a people, and free us as a whole from the bondages of foreign races and foreign rule. Well, one thing you have to know is how they actually placed you in bondage. How were you able to be placed inside of a system that kept you in servitude and without any outlets to claim freedom, without any outlets to enjoy true liberty? Why is it that we always have to be subject to their abuse, to their racism, to their discrimination, to their hate, to their judicial system, to their police system, to their economic layout and plans for them that has demarginalized us as a people? How did they create these states that you're in, that they call? I'm particularly speaking of the American Africans in the Americas and the diaspora, because it applies to our people in London as well. And I appreciate y'all tuning in to our people from across the world. But what happens is this: there was a plan that was laid out for America, right? And this happened early in amongst the so-called founding fathers of that country, where they had to protect the institution of slavery. And it was done through the Masonic lodges, right? The European lodges. And as you know, George Washington, who was they claimed was the first president, was a part of the Masonic order, right? And in those Masonic lodges, he was a part of Lodge number 4 of Fredericksburg, Virginia. And there was 8 signatories to the Constitution, right? The Constitution of the U.S. The Constitution of the U.S. was signed by particular representatives of various colonies, the 13 colonies, in order to create a a government that would control the indigenous and control the Africans. As you know, the slave trade was very profitable. Human trafficking, which is still going on today, at the time was profitable then, and it wasn't considered illegal. It was, though it was illegal, it was based on the premise that the white race was more superior than Africans, or more superior than the black race. And this is all throughout their documents. You'll find this in their Judge Taney's decision in Dred Scott, which we'll go over. We'll address that citizenship part, that that where he acknowledges that the Constitution wasn't written for you as black people, as Africans in the diaspora, anywhere that you are. You were not wrote into the Constitution as a part of the persons or people or the posterity of the union by which we the people had drafted it. You were not written in there, and you were not given specific those rights that were only exclusively given to the Caucasoid, given to the white men, as they literally label it in their doctrines, right? In the description, Foxy, check the description. You'll see the email where you can you can get information about Dr. Malachi Z. K. York's books. So let's deal with this Constitution. Why? Because the U.S. Constitution is what keeps our people in a particular legal order or legal form. It's a framework that they've created that keeps their authority over you. And these are the steps to freedom. We're just doing a part 2 moving forward. And so in the Constitution, which was drafted by majority of these members were European Masonic members of the lodges, the grand lodges that were set up in the various colonies: Savannah, Georgia, North and South Carolina, Virginia, right? You had, let me give you a few of the constitutional drafters and who were responsible for drafting it. And the reason we have to address the Constitution is because this is where jurisdiction lies. This is where the control that they claim they have over you. And you have to know, how did they maintain or gain this control in order for you to free yourself? In order to know how to free yourself, you have to know how to unlock the chains, or unlock the handcuffs, or unlock the legal paper that binds you to them, that has given them so-called advantage, which really doesn't exist. You'll see how after this lecture. So let's see, when you deal with the constitutional drafters, 9 of them, actually 11 of them, were Freemasons. One, George Washington, he was a part of the lodge, lodge number 4, Fredericksburg, Virginia. Daniel Carroll, he was a part of lodge number 18 of Maryland. John Blair, lodge number 21, Williamsburg, Virginia. William Blount, number 2, lodge in Edenton, North Carolina. Lodge number 1, Abraham Baldwin was a part of in Savannah, Georgia. Rufus King, number 10, St. Andrew's Lodge in Boston, Massachusetts. Benjamin Franklin, number 13, Philadelphia Lodge, Grand Master of Pennsylvania from 1734. He also was a Grand Master General in 1754. Alexander Hamilton, number 9, Holland Lodge in New York. He was the first Secretary of Treasury. He was also a Worshipful Master in 1802. John Dickinson, number 2, Delaware St. John's Lodge, Worshipful Master. I'm paying attention to the chat, so just make sure you put your questions there. After we finish the lecture, we'll go over them. Delaware St. John's Lodge, Worshipful Master, 1780, 1781. Lodge number 2. William Few, number 1. He was a part of the Savannah Lodge, Solomon's Lodge, Worshipful Master, and Rufus King. Rufus King, Williams Livingston, St. Andrew's Lodge, Grand Master, 1786 to 1790. Now, why is this important? Because the importance of this is that George Washington, who was the Worshipful Master of these lodges, and they would meet at one accord to address how they would control you as Africans of the diaspora, as blacks. How were they going to keep you in their due bounds? How they would create a police force to implement their laws, how they would maintain U.S. property so they can economically benefit from you, All of that was discussed in their lodges. And in their lodges, George Washington was given certain information about how America will be laid out, how America would be designed, and how they would take control from the Atlantic Ocean all the way over to the Pacific Ocean. And this actual details was given to George Washington in a, they said, in 18, actually early 1700s, where he claimed to have received a vision, right, from a particular woman that gave him this information about how the lands were supposed to be laid out, right? And it was done in Valley Forge. Now, for those that are listening worldwide, I'm just giving, for those that are listening worldwide, this, you may be aware, you may have heard of George Washington, you may not have heard of George Washington, maybe so, I'm not sure, but because he had a vision, and this vision that he claimed, he was visited by a group of extraterrestrials, Pleiadian women or Pleiadian beings, who, as our father expressed in 18 plus 18 plus 1 equals 37 genes of the mitochondria DNA, which is an actual fact that he wrote. He expressed how this Pleiadian group of beings, which I know it sounds, when you get into the extraterrestrial topic, I hope you checked out episode 4, where we address these extraterrestrial beings and their control over the Adamite, who's the Caucasoid, and their race as their creator gods. But they also gave them a layout of how they wanted to control America and breed this new African or new race of beings in the Americas under their control, using the blood of the African race, which is you, and controlling the Nubian Nation, which is you. And this being gave George Washington a layout of how America would look. Now, let me give you an idea of how you know that America was laid out. I'm gonna just give you, Rahobat, everyone. Let me give you an idea. Please share the channel as well as we talk, so people can chime in, because they may not know we're live. If you look at a map of the US, you'll see the design of the states are what? They're all squared off. Visualize in your mind around the world, right, the various maps that you've seen of different countries. And when you look at these different countries, you'll see that nowhere on the planet do you see a map laid out the way the US map is laid out. The US map is all based on a 45-degree angle, right? Actually, pardon me, 90-degree angle, not 45-degree, 90-degree angle, 90-degree angle. You'll see, right, that it's squared off, meaning look at New Mexico in your mind, look at Oklahoma, all of it is square. How is that possible? Think about it. When you go to Africa, you visualize Africa, the countries are not demarcated as such. When you go to Europe, the European countries are not demarcated in a way where the states are squared off. This was a specific design and layout by individuals who are very familiar with the compass and the square. When you look at the states, you'll see coming over, look at starting from Iowa to Minnesota, Texas, there's a square, the Panhandle, Oklahoma, there's a square, Wyoming, there's a square, North and South Dakota are actually just squared off, that like that, right? When you look at Arkansas, California, Washington, Oregon, North and South Dakota, right? I mentioned that Utah, Iowa, look at those Midwestern Colorado, you'll see they're all squared off. But you only can see that from a higher position, right? You even the roads look like grids, right? You don't see that from a lateral perspective, right? You only can see that from above. And this is the layout that was given to George Washington in order for him and his colleagues, the signers of the Constitution, to create these lands and impose their jurisdictions. What is jurisdiction? Jurisdiction is the control that lodges have over territories. So when you say, what is the jurisdiction you claim, most lodge members that are Masons understand that terminology. However, jurisdiction is also used when they come to arrest you, or when they say we have control over this territory, or we have control over you. We have jurisdiction to bring you into our courts. We have jurisdiction to bring you into our custody. We have jurisdiction to do what? Try you in a court of law and order. So the order by which they implemented this plan that was received by George Washington in, right, in what year it was? It was in, let me give you the exact year. Oh, the exact year was the exact year was 1777, when he reached Valley Forge. When he was in Valley Forge, he talks about Anthony Sherman, one of his lodge members, gives an account of how George Washington had a visitor came to visit him in his cabin. It was a woman that was a Palladian woman. He described this woman. The guy by the name of Anthony Sherman describes the vision that George Washington has, and it's recorded in several newspapers. I don't know why I'm having a hard time. Okay, it was the illustration. Pardon me. Let me find this real quick. Right, revisiting Valley Forge. Valley Forge was the camp, right, in Philadelphia, north of Philadelphia. Washington recreated for. He had a tough loss. He reached Valley Forge in December 1777. He suffered through a rough winter, and he gives a story of how he contacted this Palladian woman that gave him a layout. And this woman you saw as the Manifest Destiny. You'll see her. When you type in Manifest Destiny, you'll see how she has a book under her arm, a Bible. She has a long white robe. She looks like a Palladian being, one of beings from the Palladian star system who was responsible for breeding the Caucasoid using their genes. This is why they have the pale skin. But he gives his words on how one afternoon he was sitting at his table, engaged, preparing a dispatch. Something seemed to disturb him, right? He says, this is George Washington's words, that I saw some moments before. He said, looking up, I beheld opposite me a singularly beautiful female. So astonished was I that I had given strict orders not to be disturbed, that it was some moments before I found language to inquire the cause of her presence. A second and third and even fourth time did I repeat my question,